So there is a supply line crisis that we've talked about a number of times on this show. That's one of the main things leading to inflation. It's also monopoly power leading to inflation. Corporate greed is leading to inflation. There's this misnomer that is tied to big spending. It is not. Every economist I've talked to has said, no uncertain terms, it is not the spending. But there's been a lot of pressure put on truckers because of the supply chain crisis. And we've seen articles now talking about, they're stretched thin, they're working as hard as they can. And what a lot of people don't know is just how screwed many truckers are in this country. There are some truckers who work as independent contractors. And what happens is they're promised this like rent-to-own thing where it's like, you will eventually own the truck, but you're going to work as a trucker, you're an independent contractor, you have to pay for whatever, the gas, the repairs on the truck, you have to pay to rent the truck to buy it eventually. And so what happens is, at the end of the day, a lot of these truckers work full-time, and they either make a little bit of money or they even lose money. So this is obscene. And now some truckers are going to try to unionize to fight back and make a decent living. So let's watch. More Perfect Union did a great segment on this, talking to the truckers. Take a look.
La compañía es una compañía miserable que no tiene un sentido humano para con sus trabajadores.
It is heartbreaking. I have seen drivers show me their settlement statements where in any given week they may have owed money to the company. In other words, it says negative $200.
En un día promedio de 12 a 14 horas, probablemente 4 horas o 5 horas que no nos pagan.
They have worked a 40, 50-hour week, but because the deductions for their truck payment, for their repairs, for their maintenance, for their insurance, that week was more than they earned, they owe money to the company. It's indentured servitude at its worst. It's modern-day sharecropping.
Bueno, quiero aclarar que no somos contratistas independientes. Ellos nos han clasificado como contratistas independientes para que nos roben nuestro salario y nos roben los beneficios que nos corresponden como empleados.
Misclassification is a crisis for port truck drivers. What misclassification is where employers, in order to increase their profits, they take their drivers here, who under the law are in fact employees, and they misclassify them, try to treat them as independent contractors.
Mi experiencia que he trabajado en otras compañías como empleado, pues tenemos los beneficios como es de disability o desempleo, pagamos seguro social y para que tengamos un retiro en la vejez de seguro social, que esta compañía no nos da esa oportunidad.
Nos sancionan, ellos nos corren, entonces en la práctica somos empleados, pero en el esquema de contratación que es el engaño, somos independientes según la compañía.
And this is going to be sending the message loud and clear to other employees that you do not have to put up with these antics of your employers who try to misclassify you as independent contractors when you are employees. You have the right to a union.
De mis compañeros se han enfermado, incluso yo me he enfermado por el COVID el año pasado, estuve 3 meses fuera de la compañía y no pude recibir los beneficios que el Estado, desempleo o disability. La compañía no me pagó, por 3 años yo no tuve salario y eso es una violación a los derechos del trabajador.
O sea, nos niega el derecho de decir que somos empleados.
Yo puedo ver aquí a mis compañeros que tienen más de 65 años todavía trabajando, porque no podemos tener el derecho al retiro, o ningún retiro digno.
Ellos dicen que son una compañía fuerte, pero con mucho sentido humano. Entonces, llévenlo a la práctica, porque en realidad ustedes son muy inhumanos.
No pagándonos, por ejemplo, desde que llegamos tenemos que inspeccionar el camión y averiguar que el camión esté listo. Cuando recogemos la carga tenemos que hacer una inspección. Todo ese tiempo no nos los pagan.
So even under the most stringent of employee status standards, these drivers have been found to be employees. So it is clear, the writing's on the wall. XPO may try to fight it, but these workers are going to win their right to a union election. And based on what I've seen, they're going to win their right to a union and a good, fair contract.
Imagine working full-time and losing money. That's exactly what was happening with a lot of these truckers. Out there trying to make a good, honest living, working full-time. Sometimes they make a little money. Sometimes they flat out lose money. Look, call it what it is. This is modern-day indentured servitude. And so the economy is working on the exploitation of these truckers. Truckers are crucially important. And the whole economy is built on their exploitation. I mean, it's built on the exploitation of a number of people. Remember when we covered that story of the literal modern-day slave ring that was busted? What was it, in Georgia? Remember that? I mean, this is the whole point. Like, the owner class is extracting the surplus value from the workers. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And all these people want is a decent, fair wage, some health care, some paid time off. And don't tell me we can't afford it. We absolutely can't afford it. Corporate profits are at a record high right now. Record high. They're using the inflation as an excuse to jack up prices across the board. We absolutely can afford it. Don't tell me we can't afford it. We absolutely the companies can afford it. We just need to have rules and regulations in place that mandates people get a fair wage. And beyond that, you need unions to fight for the working class. Collective bargaining works. We just need collective bargaining and then fair rules and regulations and referees to make sure that the owner class doesn't pull any tricky maneuvers trying to undercut their workers. I mean, look, it speaks for itself. Working full-time, losing money, that's insane. This independent contractor categorization, maybe in some limited circumstances, it makes sense. But the trick now from corporations is to define workers as independent contractors so as to avoid calling them employees. And if you avoid having them in the category of employee, then, no unemployment, no disability, no rights that go hand in hand with being an employee. So it's sort of like a trick, because everybody hears, oh, I'd rather be an independent contractor than an employee. It sounds better. But in reality, it's actually much, much worse, and you're much more exploited. Just ask, the Uber drivers and, people who work in industries where they're always viewed as independent contractors. Jesus, man. This is terrible. It's terrible. Solidarity with these workers. I hope they win their union, and I hope that this new trend of unions now getting more powerful and going on the offense, I hope it stays around, because clearly it's absolutely vital and necessary and crucial, because the government's not looking out for us. The companies are not looking out for us. And so if workers unionize and fight back, at least that's one type of power for the working class that is a sleeping giant and can awaken and can get us back to some semblance of reason and rationality in terms of how we structure the economy. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.